This is the Russian dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
This is Eli Surge. Birds are not real, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show at Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today. The trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the alien aficionado, Bigfoot's best friend, the Cryptid Connoisseur, Eli Surge.
Whew! Feels like I'm pumped up for a fight now. Oh.
We like to do it big here on Wrestling With. How are you, Eli? Eli, can you hear me?
Oh, yep, sorry.
How are you, Eli?
I am great. I'm looking outside. There's no drones. Some people might know them as birds. There's none of those outside my rock fort currently, so it's a good day. Bigfoot out on a run for beef jerky at the moment, and he'll be back at any time. So it's a rockin' day.
Fantastic. And when is the next Eli sighting?
The next Eli sighting, let's see. This will come out on the 28th, so I will be next at Winnipeg Pro on March 3rd, and then Barrie Wrestling in Ontario the March 4th. After that, there's a bunch of stuff coming up, but nothing's officially announced yet.
Okay. And where can we find you on social media and your merchandise?
Twitter and Instagram, you can find me at Real Eli Surge. Facebook is Eli Surge. Merchandise you can find at Pro Wrestling Tees and Brainbuster Tees, or at your local show that I'm at, and you'll find it cheaper there because the other sites have American prices, so that's a big bonus. Or you could add me on Pokemon Go. If you're interested, just send me a DM and I'll add you.
Oh, wow. That's the first Pokemon Go we've ever had on the show.
Yeah. Gotta catch them all.
And of course, you don't need to go looking for those links. All of the links will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox.
Woo!
Right. Before we get into things, you're going to Barrie Wrestling. Is that your first time at Barrie Wrestling?
It will be, yeah. I've never actually even been to Barrie for anything. So I'm excited about that. I've never been to Winnipeg for anything. I only have a little bit of history in Ontario. I'm currently doing most of the shows for 365 in Guelph, and hopefully Kitchener coming up. But yeah, it'll be my first appearance, first time being in Barrie.
That's awesome. Right. But the companies you've been working with recently, you work for Love Pro Wrestling and Nation Extreme Wrestling. Can you tell us about your relationship with those companies?
Well, Love Pro is near and dear to my heart. I love me some Spencer Love. They are always fun shows to be at and always fun shows to watch, even if you're not a part of them. And they're they're just selling out left, right, and center. The last one sold out weeks before the show even started. And the next one, or I guess the one coming up, it will be right after this happened. So hopefully, you know what? I'm going to tell you, it was a great show too.
Yeah.
Nation Extreme Wrestling, they're really, really putting effort into trying like the Pacific Northwest, Vancouver specifically, was known as the black hole of wrestling to a lot of people there for a long time. If you were there, it felt like you didn't get to see in other places. So Nation Extreme Wrestling is really coming in, and they're trying to break that wide open. March 24th, you can catch them at the Commodore Ballroom, downtown Vancouver, with the main event, Minoru Suzuki versus Judas Icarus. Are you kidding me? That's going to be crazy. And they've afforded me a lot of opportunities as well. Unfortunately, pretty bad win-loss record there, but I have a great time every time. And it's not so much about the win-loss ratio for me. It's more about allowing people to know that there is life outside of the presented reality. So such as birds aren't real, looking into Bigfoot, thinking about the aliens. Hell, the U.S. just shot down a spy balloon and then another unidentified object over Alaska. So it's there's just so much happening.
There really is. I was seeing that that UFO got shot down on top of Alaska, and I was like, definitely gonna be talking about this with Eli.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of information on it. They don't even want to say really what it looked like. You have to dig to find a little bit of information. So hopefully there'll be more stuff coming out soon from people who were around, eyewitnesses and such.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about your tag team, the Milky Way Wrecking Crew, with Elliot Tyler, Beef Boy?
Yeah. So E.T., strange enough, he's one of my best friends. I've known him for years, and we've before had a chance to tag team. At that point, I wasn't so deeply invested in the conspiracies, so we just went by Surge and Beef. But now we are the Milky Way Wrecking Crew and performing at Love Pro. The show that just happened, we will also have Tony Baroni, Uncle Daddy, joining us to take on Seven. It's tagging with Elliot Tyler is always a pleasure. He doesn't believe everything that I tell him. He's always open to hearing things, and that goes from conspiracies to the way I think we should attack people in the ring. So it's just great to be in the ring, even if I'm on the other side of the ring with Elliot Tyler. It's always a great time in there.
And shout out to Elliot. He was one of our first guests on the show. So yeah, it was nice to see that he's in Love Pro Wrestling as well.
Yeah, if anyone's listening to this and hasn't followed him on social media, do that right now. He's not always, talking about his wrestling and stuff. Sometimes he's just wishing people a good day. He's one of the best, most genuine people that I've met in the wrestling industry. So if you get a chance to follow him or meet him in person, just go up and say thank you for being such a cool dude.
Now, your last match together as a tag team, you wrestled Mars the Specialist and TJ Cannon.
Mm-hmm.
And it is an odd situation because it does seem like because Mars joined Seven, but he accepted your tinfoil hat. So it does seem like he's kind of on the fence about if he should have joined or not. You were a tag team at one point.
Yeah, Mars, he's a guy who does question the reality. And his reality is that he is part of Seven right now. I don't know if he fully believes in Seven, which may be the downfall of Seven, which maybe we can exploit in the future when going toe-to-toe with him. Not that I'd want to try to exploit Mars. He's a great guy as well, or so it seems. Maybe he's got an evil side. I don't know. That guy's got a big head of hair, and inside that there's a big brain, but I can't get past that head of hair until he puts that tinfoil hat on, and then it doesn't stay on long enough for me to really see what's happening.
Right. So it does. So there is kind of a rivalry between the Milky Way Wrecking Crew and Seven as of right now.
It does feel like that. Yeah, we definitely have some unfinished business going forward, and I don't know where that'll lead us, but I don't think the Milky Way Wrecking Crew is going to leave without a win.
Oh, definitely. And it does seem, as much as I love pro wrestling, it is more based on, individuals rather than tag teams. If
Mhm.
and you are in, a named tag team with Elliot Tyler right now.
Mm.
Would you like to see a tag team division? Maybe some tag belts get made?
For Love Pro?
Yeah.
Love Pro does have tag belts. They actually introduced them just a couple shows ago, so it's fairly new.
Okay.
And they're unlike any tag belts I've seen anywhere else in any sort of wrestling. Currently, the holders are the Rads,
Okay.
and they've faced I think a few people already. I think there was a 4-team scramble for the belts initially, but once we get past 7, we're definitely looking at those big belts.
All right. Now, one thing that I found very interesting was that you actually wrestled against Elliot Tyler and Judas Icarus with Gigi Dolan, Priscilla Kelly at the time, with
Yeah.
Travis Williams and Steve Miggs. What was that
Yes.
experience like?
That was very fun. I don't honestly remember. I'm probably gonna guess that we didn't win that because Judas and Tyler or Elliot are some of the best around. Even if I had Steve Miggs in my corner, who you'll see all around the Western United States, he was on AEW Dark recently,
Yeah.
and Travis Williams, they call him the Golden Boy for a reason because he's damn good. I feel like we probably came out of that with a loss. I can't remember. It feels so long ago. It was before all of this stay-at-home stuff. But it was a great time, except for the one point where I fell to my stomach, and then all of a sudden there were fingers in my mouth from Priscilla Kelly that had a particular stank to them. She'd applied some sort of, I'm not sure what, that she found inside of her gear somewhere, and that was quite atrocious. But I prefer not to think about that part, and I prefer to think about how great it is to be in the ring with Travis. At the time, we were what was our tag name at that time? Daddy's Money. Because we were getting quite a chunk of change for performing at Without a Cause. Unfortunately, Without a Cause has seen its last show.
Unfortunately,
yes. Without a Cause was always a great time. It's hard to say there was a bad time around in the Pacific Northwest at that point. But yeah, when being in there with Priscilla Kelly, Gigi Dolan, I thought maybe I should throw her into a door and then kick her hard in the face. And I thought, no. She doesn't deserve that. But apparently someone else thought that she did deserve that recently. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And removing Mix and Gigi Dolan, obviously Elliot, Icarus, and Williams, all, you've had tag teams and a close relationship with all of those guys.
Yes, we affectionately, as that 4-core group, call ourselves the Canadian Destroyers. And if there ever was a chance for all 4 of us to stand on the same side of the ring, I don't think we could ever lose. But when it comes to fighting between us, it's a hard battle.
Oh, for sure. And isn't it, like, when you're fighting your friend, there's just a little bit more you put in the ring. Good friends,
Oh,
better enemies.
exactly. Yeah. If you know someone outside of the ring, you feel a lot better about kicking them in the face really hard.
Yeah.
It feels better. You know that they'll probably give you a dirty look for a couple weeks afterwards, but it was worth it.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you think about just putting their head through a door. You don't do it, but sometimes you think about it.
Sometimes you just think about that time where you were hanging out and someone took the last brownie, and you think, this is for that.
I feel like that's happened.
Yes.
All right. Now things are being revealed in the grand mystery of things. All right. Another name you've been in the ring with, Psychosis.
Mhm.
What was that experience like? Because obviously a legend of this business.
Yeah, Psychosis, it it was almost like a blur being in the ring with him. Since that match, I've had a chance to go down to Mexico and learn lucha libre a little bit better. I spent the summer living in Mexico City, and I do wish that I'd had the time living in Mexico before I got to wrestle Psychosis, because there were so many things that he threw at me that I wasn't really hip to at the time, and I think that my skills now, mixed with his legendary years of experience, could create even a better chemistry in that ring. So I do look forward to the point where I get to step in there with him again. But when I was in there with him, it was a tag match, myself and Judas Icarus at Defy Wrestling versus Psychosis and Guillermo Rosas, and there was a lot of shakiness going in, a lot of nerves, and if you've seen any of that match, you probably saw some of those nerves come out on my side. I did get to take his big leg drop from him on the ropes, and as much as I was dazed while it was happening, watching that leg come down, I kind of smiled on the inside. It was kind of neat. As a fan, it was definitely cool to know that I took a finisher from someone who had wrestled up so many people through so many years, including my original trainer, Lance Storm, and just share the ring with him.
Now, being trained by Lance Storm, did he teach you how to be serious for a minute?
He did, and he told us that the most important thing is to be from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Coming through Storms, you'll see a lot of people in Western Canada got a chance to train with Lance, or if they didn't train with Lance, they got to be on a show with Lance. So you'll see a lot of nods to him. There's a lot of people who can throw a pretty good drop kick because of Lance Storm in Western Canada. I'm not sure if that translates out to Ontario and the Maritimes and such, but it was, yeah, he very much so put in basics of the business and telling you really the extent in which you need to be serious in the wrestling business. Or, you know, sometimes if you don't want to be serious and you don't want to, if you're wrestling for something to do on the weekends, that's okay too. But if you want to be serious for a moment, for a minute, Lance Storm was a great guy to train with.
All right. Now you mentioned, you went to Mexico and you lived there for a summer. What brought that on to, just pack everything up and move to Mexico for a couple months?
There was an invite put out to a bunch of people, actually, and I saw that, and I thought, I'm going to kick myself if I don't take this chance. At the time, it was during a bunch of the lockdown stuff, so there wasn't much wrestling-wise going on, and I looked at the bank account and I thought, I'm sure Bigfoot can hold down the fort for a minute. Let's go down to Mexico and let's see what happens. And it was really cool. We were down there. I think there was 7 or 8 of us down there at the same time, training every single day. We had a chance to wrestle some of the names down there, appearing in a bunch of random places, as well as it with I'm sorry, I've been dropped on my head a couple times, in a company called IWRG, I believe it is, which is one of the bigger independents down there. And it's one of those things that it was just so cool in the moment, but also you don't realize how cool it was at the same time. Like, you think it's like a 6 out of 10, and then you come back and you're like, oh no, that was a 10 out of 10 cool. That's like something to brag about, basically.
I believe the name of the company is IWRG.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was close.
It's okay. That's why we have notes on our side.
I have it all written down somewhere. There's a lot happening in my brain, as you can probably tell.
Obviously the government's trying to feature stuff.
Oh, I mean, yes, but that's why I have a specialty rock fort outside of Skinwalker Ranch at the moment. So it's actually, the rocks contain lithium, which helps the government not infiltrate my brain. But sometimes a little thing sneaks through, and they erase another thing, and we're just doing our best out here.
Yeah, they definitely don't want you getting to Alaska at this point.
Oh, no, they don't.
So, going back to Mexico, what was the culture, the wrestling culture? What was the difference that you found between, obviously training in Canada to training in Mexico?
In Mexico, there is no, how do I say this? Everyone starts young, and everyone I met trained pretty much every day. There are some places like that in Canada and the United States, but a lot of people they'll do their storms for the 3-month training thing, and then they'll go off and they'll do shows, and they train here or there, or they start their training and they'll do, like a Tuesday and a Thursday, and 6 months in they'll have their first match. In Mexico, it felt like everyone started training when they were like somewhere in like the 8 to 12-year-old range, and then they wouldn't debut until they're 16. So they've got years of training under their belts before doing so, and not just like you're doing your rolls, you're doing your back bumps, you're doing your flip bumps to practice falling down safely, but you're also just doing such intense training, physically and mentally, that it's hard to get through. For the first couple weeks while we were there, I blame the altitude. It's a little bit higher there than where I am now. But everyone felt like they were out of shape, even if they thought they were coming in ready. Your warm-up in Mexico is basically a training class anywhere else, and then you get into doing the basics. And then if you don't, if you don't do well during the basics, you don't get to do the advanced stuff. You have to do everything correctly. Getting to train with someone like Ricky Marvin, he spent an entire 2.5-hour class with us just doing front, back, and shoulder rolls to make sure everyone had them. Wow. If you did a back roll and you went over your shoulder instead of going straight back, he made you do it again until you were doing it correctly every single time. So the training there was very, very based on, you need to get this right, and you need to get it right when you start. And if for some reason later down the road you start doing it wrong, we're going to go back to the basics, and then we can move on. So there's a lot of intensity, and then the rings are much harder down there, so you need to know your rolls and stuff. It hurts a lot more to fall down, which is maybe why they do so much flying, so that they can land on other people. And you get to see cool stuff like there's a luchador who is popping on the American circuit right now named Commander, who I got to just hang out with him. He was trying to learn English while I was down there, and if he's not learning English in the little cafe, he was in the ring. He was living at Bandito's gym, and he would be either in the ring or working out or trying to learn English. Like his only focus was wrestling or doing something to help his wrestling in the future. So there's just a lot more commitment to the art down there.
That's incredible. That sounds awesome, honestly. Now, obviously it's a different culture. The best way to find out about a culture is through the food. What was you eating down in Mexico?
So at the time that I went down there, I was a vegetarian, and I thought I was going to basically live on rice and beans. Unfortunately, I didn't find a lot of that. So for the first little bit, I lived off peanut butter sandwiches. And then slowly, once I got through the initial sickness, because everyone gets sick when they go to Mexico for that long, you get a little tummy ache and you don't want to leave your bed for a little bit. But once I got past that, I started trying different things and branching out. And there's a lot of, not just, obviously there's really good Mexican food, obviously. And you can find it everywhere. But there's a lot of really good fusion foods and like stuff that I hadn't seen before. Even within their baked goods, they had a bunch of really good stuff. I wish I'd traveled more outside of Mexico City to see even more small town or coastal towns, stuff like that. But at this point, if I went back, I'd be basically living off of street tacos probably, because they were just so good. And street tacos and tortas, the sandwiches, just I think about them all the time.
Not a bad way to spend a day.
Not at all.
But you mentioned, that you're a vegetarian. Wasn't you first fed a hot dog in a match?
Yeah, and at the time I was vegetarian. I believe that was during a birthday death match with BJ Laredo. And I had a few wars with BJ on Vancouver Island. But that one caught the hot dog to the mouth. When you turn around and you're trying to catch your breath and you've been beaten up for 15 minutes and all of a sudden your mouth is open and there's just a hot dog shoved down your throat. It's something you don't prepare for.
I can imagine. Like, I was not
Didn't even put ketchup on it for me.
Like, I could take a power bomb, I could take a body slam. I was not prepared to take a hot dog.
No, I didn't. I wasn't prepared to take a hot dog. I wasn't prepared to take a bump into a birthday cake. I wasn't prepared to go through a board covered in balloons that it popped all over me as soon as I went through it. There was a bunch of stuff in that you just can't prepare for.
Well, did at least the hot dog taste good?
I mean, I was a vegetarian at the time, so I just tried to spit it out.
Okay.
I was so focused on trying to breathe again that I didn't even take a chance. There was a hot dog in the mouth, and I got it out, and all of a sudden there's a fist in my mouth. He's just punching me again.
Alright. Probably another, big fight. You wrestled B-Boy. an all-time legend in pro wrestling on the independents. What was that experience like?
I love B-Boy. I love B-Boy. B-Boys, when I got into wrestling, I only knew the WWEs and the New Japans and some of Impact and that kind of stuff, and that's what had brought me in. So getting the chance to learn from someone who has run the independents for, what is B-Boy at now, like 20 years? And
Definitely 20 plus.
Yeah, and been all over the place. It was so cool. And then afterwards, sitting down with him and talking about why he beat me up that way was such a cool thing too. And seeing, even though, like, I'm sure there were fans there that didn't know B-Boy before, but you can't watch a B-Boy match and leave not loving B-Boy. And you can't step in the ring with B-Boy and leave not loving B-Boy.
You mentioned, he was telling you, was it just he was telling you, explaining to you because, obviously he has more experience? Or that, why he was explaining to you why he did what he did in the match?
Yeah, there was a point where he, I forget what move he gave me, but then he put me in a chair and he said that he went and he did a lap and he came back and he gave me the forearm to the jaw. And in that lap around the ring that he did, he pointed out that on every side of the ring, he interacted with a bunch of the fans on that side of the ring and how that really brought them into him. And then by doing so, made them even happier when he hit me.
It seems like you've taken that lesson to heart because you do a lot of interactions with the fans in your matches.
Yeah, I certainly try. The one that really does seem to be sticking at this point is that people love to chant "birds aren't real," which is great because they're not. Since the 1950s, the governments have been replacing birds with surveillance drones. So the more I get out there and interact with the fan and make them even think about the idea of birds not being interacting with fans. Yeah, interacting with fans. Birds aren't real. Sometimes I bring Bigfoot with me, and Bigfoot will be ringside and interact with people. And yeah, the interaction with fans, it makes everything feel less painful for me. But also, when I go to the back, when I'm driving home, it makes me think that they are also questioning the reality. So my goal in wrestling, obviously I want to be everywhere and people to know my name, but that's not necessarily a selfish thing in my eyes because I'm trying to get people to think about things differently, and more people know my name, then the more people think, oh, that's that guy that thinks birds aren't real. That's that guy that hangs out with Bigfoot. That's the guy that looks into aliens and such, and maybe that leads them to looking into something that they hadn't before. Or if it's not something like aliens or Bigfoot, maybe that drives them to try something new. Like maybe they had been thinking about doing yoga for years, and they're like, well, the guy who thinks birds aren't real is doing weird things, so maybe I can do this weird thing and try a yoga class or do DDP yoga or apply for that new job or do whatever. It's the fan interaction is just, it's what wrestling's about, and the more you have, the better it feels.
Now, when did you find out that birds weren't real? Because I never even thought about it until I started doing research on you, and I was like, oh my god, there's so many birds where I am.
I don't remember an exact date on it. It's something that came across my radar in my many deep dives into YouTube documentaries and the dark corners of the internet, and it just there's so many things pointing to it being true. There's just so many facts, and I won't spew them off because we'd be here all day. But if you look into it a little bit, you'll find some people who put some pretty convincing evidence out there. And I think it's one of those things it's rising. So everyone knows about Bigfoot, and everyone knows about aliens, and everyone has probably heard about the Yeti and all that stuff, but maybe this is something they haven't heard before and they think it's ludicrous, but if you look into it, there's something there.
Well, that brings us back around to wrestling. Obviously you've wrestled some legends in this business. I was interested in your list of wrestlers you haven't wrestled yet, which was Chris Statlander, because obviously she's an alien.
Yes.
Brody King, Sasquatch, come on.
Yes.
Ali Catch, Cat Bat, a shapeshifter. Danhausen, a vampire. And Ryback, walking dumb man.
Yeah. I mean, you can't look at Ryback and think that he's not just one of those evil thumbs from Spy Kids. You do a side-by-side, and it's like someone just put a face on one of those evil thumbs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, going back up that list, Danhausen, very, very nice, very evil, so he says. Where does he get his teeth from? I believe that he is actually a vampire. He looks like a vampire. He wears a cape. I haven't seen him, outside of a wrestling setting. Maybe he sleeps in a coffin. It could happen. I haven't seen him during the day anywhere. Come on. Alley Catch, formerly known as Alley Cat or Alley Bat. Come on. There's 3 different iterations. She's shape-shifting, and I think there's more beyond what we've seen that's coming forward. And the further that she goes in wrestling, the more that we will get to see, which is pretty exciting. Brody King, come on. Look at the beard on that guy. He is a shaved down Sasquatch. I got to meet him out in Missouri years ago, and that man is tall. He is wide. He's got the shoulders of a Sasquatch. You stand next to him and tell me you don't feel like you're a different race. Not a different race, sorry, that's the wrong wording. A different species. He doesn't feel like he's human. He is something else. And Chris Statlander, she doesn't present herself as an alien anymore. She's more than a woman. But you can't just hide the fact that you were an alien.
Right.
If an alien comes to Earth and starts trying to be a person, that's what they're going to do. Maybe she couldn't get to the leaders of the world, and that's why she's trying to be a regular person now. Has to hide the fact that she is/was an alien, and I get it. I do. I just want to sit down in the ring and talk with her about it. That's all.
Definitely some interesting matches that could actually happen down the line.
Let's hope so.
Let's get this man on AEW TV.
Please.
Well, you was on TV, on the news. You were on Chuck News. Can you tell us about that?
Well, there's been a couple times on Chuck News, I think. Most recently, they were doing a piece around the 365 Pro Wrestling organization running out of Victoria. And I just happened to be in town at that time. And I got to put a tinfoil hat on their broadcaster, and he told me afterwards he started seeing things differently. It was it was really eye-opening for him, and we've talked since, and he's starting to think about things different. He's telling me. So that's a positive thing because we can use more representation in the media, obviously. Because right now, a lot of people who share the thoughts that I do are considered outsiders, and that they might be making things up. So there was that, and then earlier in my career, they did a piece on me and how I had left my schooling. I was in school for criminal justice and decided to drop out to become a wrestler. And yeah, they did a whole piece on me. Thankfully, my mom was the one that reached out and introduced them to my story and what was happening. And so Czech News has been good for me. Shout out to Czech News on Vancouver Island.
That's awesome. Did you tell the news reporter that you were going to put the aluminum foil hat on him beforehand, or was it just something you decided to do in the match?
Most of the time, it's best if you ask. Consent is sexy. And so I told him that I do have tinfoil hats around. I didn't tell him exactly that I would be putting a hat on him at any particular point. I just said, these come around. At some point, you might get a tinfoil hat on you, and just don't fight it. It's going to be for the best.
And it seems like it was for the best.
Absolutely it was, yeah.
That being said, how much aluminum foil do you go to a year?
Oh, wow. Probably more than a small country. I have a bunch of it prepared because you never know when you're going to need it. And one thing that I learned in Boy Scouts is to always be prepared.
Now, how did you start making the hats? Because I'm assuming it's a trial and error type situation, because as of right now, they look very professionally done and very sturdy as well. I mean, it doesn't look like, I don't think I've seen one rip at this point, just researching you. So how did you find the perfect rendition of the tinfoil hat?
It was a lot of trial and error. A lot of looking for particular, to try to find the most sturdy structural type, I suppose. And ultimately, I ended up on what I have now, which kind of looks like a Hershey's Kiss, because it protects all around the head. It wraps down. It covers most of where your brain would be. You got to protect that temporal lobe, and it's just really worked out for me. It takes a while to make them. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting quicker at it, but the biggest influence was actually, I believe it's called Scary Movie, and they have aliens appear there that they are trying to hide from, and they're wearing tinfoil hats, and I thought those look like they would do the job, so I tried that style, and it's worked out.
And you even got one on Daniel Garcia.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sorry, something in my throat.
Oh, no worries. What?
Yeah. Daniel Garcia, Trey Miguel, and Taga Style, Lee Moriarty, all, if you check my Instagram, do appear in tinfoil hats. And, Daniel Garcia, he wouldn't admit that it changed anything, but you can see it in his eyes. He looks a little bit happier with that tinfoil hat on.
He does. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like, Trey and Moriarty, they're kind of guys that are like, yeah, I'll try it, sure. But did it take some convincing to put a tinfoil hat on Daniel Garcia?
It did, and my people had to contact his people. We had to sign some papers, and it was a very extensive process. But we got to the point where it happened, and I think the world is better for it.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you don't have to answer this next question if you don't feel comfortable. You have a rare blood disease, correct?
So I had a very rare blood infection.
Okay.
It's a thing called Streptococcus canis, and it's a bacteria that 20 to 30% of dogs just carry on them. But the transfer from canine to human is so rare that I was the 74th case in recorded history of going from dog to human. And I mean, now that I'm through it, it's a cool story because I get to say I was the 74th case, but at the time it was awful. I came off a weekend of 3 shows for wrestling, and I was feeling real bad and decided to have a nap. And I woke up and I basically couldn't walk because there was so much pain in my body. And they didn't diagnose it right away, so I spent a week slowly getting better. And then I had an ankle swell up, went back to the ER, and they took more blood tests and called me back in. And I spent 2 weeks in the hospital after that, of them running every test that I had ever heard of to see where it had gone in my body, what it had done, and they tried to give the best guess of long-term effect. So it was rough. There were days in that hospital stay because I got another bacteria while I was in there. It's common when you're in the hospital, called C. diff. It's just it just runs through your guts basically. But there were points in that hospital stay where I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat. I was basically just living on a toilet, and was so out of it and unwell. I dropped over 20 pounds in 7 days just from being ill. It was just like, that was the closest I've ever felt to leaving this planet. Now, I would like to leave this planet with aliens, but not leave the planet in the way of passing. So that was a really rough time, and I got wheeled out of the hospital after those couple of weeks in a wheelchair, and slowly had to work my way back up to walking. So went from a wheelchair to a two-wheeled walker, like you'd see an old person walking down the street with, to a four-wheeled walker, to a cane, and then eventually, it was about 4 months later, I stopped using the cane and almost immediately tried to go back to wrestling, which was a little bit too early, but I was calmed down, because right as I was starting to try to get back into wrestling, was when March 2020 happened, and there was no more wrestling.
Yeah.
So I was forced into spending more time working on my health, which is a blessing in disguise for myself, obviously not for the world. But yeah, it was a whole bunch of things went wrong, and then one thing went right. And if I hadn't gone back into the hospital when I did, maybe a week, if I had waited another week, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you. But luckily, things worked out.
That's crazy.
Uh-huh.
Really crazy. First and foremost, thank God for free healthcare.
Yes. Thank you, Canada, for having free healthcare, because Yeah, if that had happened in the States, in the words of Joe Exotic, I'm never going to financially recover from this.
Yeah. But on an interesting note, a rare blood disease that only 74 people ever got. Do you feel like the government, there was government foreplay in this?
You know what? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because right before that happened is when I started talking about all of this stuff. So, I mean, what are the odds that I get this very super unique, rare thing that could have wiped me out right as I'm trying to spread some truth? Like, it's just... They say correlation doesn't equal causation, but it certainly feels like it in this situation.
Speaking about that, can you tell us about your YouTube series, Don't Believe in Reality?
It is temporarily on hiatus. I've not put a new episode out in a little bit now. Doesn't mean I'm not gathering facts and information, but yes, while I was spending time at home, while everyone was at home, I thought it would be important to continue to spread the truth and the facts about what really happens and what they don't want you to know. So if you check out my YouTube, which is Eli Surge, if you go to YouTube and type in Eli Surge, you'll get a strange mix of my wrestling matches, those videos, some of which about, Avril Lavigne being replaced. There's one about a UFO in the Maritimes, and then you'll get random videos from a video game where there's a character named Brother Eli, I believe. Really confusing when I look up myself. Not that I do that a lot, but if I type my own name into YouTube and on my computer where I'm logged in under Eli Surge, I don't come up first. It feels strange.
I mean, you don't even have to type it in. The link to your YouTube will be in the description of the video below.
Makes it even easier.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, just click the link, you'll be there. You don't have to type.
Yeah. No. Perfect. Go learn about the chupacabra.
Well, obviously these are in-depth, like mini docu-series of these events. What's one that you did, or one that you've heard about that is even a little bit out there, even for you to believe?
That's a good question. Because I'm pretty on board with a lot of things. Jeez.
I think I got you with this one.
Yeah. I feel like I've done enough digging that there's enough evidence presented that even that almost anything could be real, even if it is just a like someone presented a very basic idea of something. Once I've spent, because for those videos I would spend anywhere from 6 to 30 hours researching, basically. So once you're that far down, most things feel like they can be very probable. So off the top of my head, I don't know which one, or if there are any that I don't necessarily at least feel there's a chance that they would be a reality.
So you believe that Avril Lavigne could have actually been replaced?
Oh, absolutely. And there's a bunch of stuff within the entertainment business, such as there's one that came out recently that Adele and Sam Smith are actually the same person. Because if you slow down Adele or speed up Sam Smith, songs, they sound the same. Same with Nicki Minaj and Jay-Z. Slow down a Nicki Minaj song. It sounds like Jay-Z rapping. Yeah.
I mean, how could they be the same person? We saw them at the Grammys together.
Now, I'm not saying that the person you see is the same. I'm basically presenting that the vocal, the presentation has been formulated by someone behind the scenes. So with Nicki Minaj, Jay-Z has put all of the songwriting into it, and Nicki is basically the puppet to have Jay-Z have a secondary career.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I do think that brings us to our next segment. Eli's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Ooh. Up and down the roads. You know, the first thing that comes to mind isn't actually a story of mine. It's a story from Elliot Tyler. And he was driving home from a beach fire, completely legal if you do it below the low tide line at the right time of year. And he was driving down a long, dark road with his soon-to-be wife, Liza Hall. And there's two bridges on this road. And they'd gone over the first bridge. And they were driving towards the second bridge. And then all of a sudden, they went over the first bridge again, and Elliot Tyler looked down and he said that over an hour of time had passed from what he saw right before, and he didn't know how to explain that because he knew that he had crossed the first bridge already, and they knew that the time when they left the fire was about 12:30, and it was now about 1:45. So there's strange things like that. Missing time is a very common factor in alien abductions, if you look into it, and they'll usually put people back almost where they found them, but you'll just not realize that anything has changed except that you'll be a little bit different off, and the time has completely vanished, and you have no recollection of that time passing.
I know you're not exactly friends with Jack Pride right now, but did he tell you about his alien encounter?
He has not. Maybe while I'm beating him up, I can ask him about that.
That's perfect. Right, interesting story. But it's time for the colossal question. They're making a movie about Eli. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first three songs on the Eli Surge movie soundtrack?
Oh, wow. I'm going to be honest. I am so bad at remembering song names. And the ADHD in my brain doesn't really let me just grab them out of the air.
You can sing them if you'd like.
It's hard to say that I wouldn't use my entrance music in that. It feels like it fits very well into everything that we've talked about and everything that I am. It's very you could say sci-fi-ish. So probably my entrance music. Number two, there's a song on the radio right now that I find very catchy called "Runaway to Mars," and that seems to line up very well as we are looking for Martians, and I'm wrestling Mars the Specialist a bunch. So probably that. It's a little slower. It can be, put over the moments in the movie where I'm having troubles, I guess. And you know what? For the last one in this, I'm gonna go It was the top of my Spotify last year, and it's Cowboys Don't Cry by Oliver Tree.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that. You got 3 solid songs there. Do you lock it in?
You know what? I might switch out. No, I'm gonna lock that in. Yeah.
All right. Now that we got the soundtrack down, who plays Eli? And you can't say yourself because you're obligated to make a Stanley as a cameo.
Obviously, gotta be the cameo. Who would be my doppelganger? I've been told a couple times there's a character in... I was told it mostly while I was in Mexico, where they said I looked like a character from a TV show called, I think it was called Papel de Casa, which I think is called House of Cards up here or something. Or no, I don't know. But any man who's, got a very nice beard going, can wear a set of glasses nice just in case, and has luscious flowing hair, I will sign off on.
Alright. And every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people in your movie, and who would play them?
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to that last question. I'm gonna put John Hamm as the star. John Hamm can be me. Yeah. Because yeah. Okay. Supporting cast though.
Elliot has to be one of them, right?
Oh, we can pick wrestlers. We're not just picking known actors. Okay. Yeah, Elliot Tyler's definitely in there. I mean, if I'm picking Elliot Tyler, Judas Icarus, and Travis Williams are all in that. So if we're going with 3 that I think fit that perfectly, it's them, because they're there or hear about most of the things that go on in my life anyway.
All right, and who plays them in the movie?
Travis will be played by Owen Wilson.
Okay.
Judas will be played by Adrian Brody.
Okay.
And Elliot, just because they look nothing alike, but I appreciate both of them, let's put Christopher Walken in there.
I love that. Alright. This sounds like an awesome movie. You can pre-order the tickets now.
Yeah.
Alright, one thing I found interesting is you met Holy Race.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience like, obviously meeting the King?
At the time, the King was a little bit in poor health.
Okay.
I got to meet him at his school in Missouri, which is where I met Brody King as well.
Okay.
So just a house of kings. And he, even in his poor health at the time, was very, very open to talking about everything that he had done or critiquing ideas that would be presented to him. Was just a very great mind to have around, a very stoic man, someone who would sit back and watch and take in everything, but unless you really went up to him and asked the direct questions, wouldn't give you he wouldn't come up and say, "Oh, that was good, yeah, I had a good one, I hope to see you next time." He wouldn't give you the runaround, I guess. So it was really, it was unparalleled to any other experience I'd had meeting anyone else in wrestling. And I'm very glad to have met him.
Okay. Now, we've been talking about, controversial subjects, Sasquatch, if birds are real, aliens, etc. On to the most controversial subject of all. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
On. Of course, on. Has to be on. Oh, I mean, Hawaiian pizza, although it's called Hawaiian, was invented in Canada. So it's hard for me to see a Canadian who doesn't stand behind that. I think I also have a sweet tooth, so that suckers me in a little bit. But I think the fattiness of cheese mixed with the sweetness of pineapple and the tang of a good tomato sauce and the saltiness of a good pizza crust hits almost every category you can desire in a food. And you put ham on there, it adds to the saltiness, and it's just, I think anyone who is saying pineapple shouldn't be on pizza is doing it for the clout and needs to check themselves before they wreck themselves.
Wow. I think we need to get you on a Pizza Party Pro event.
Sign me up, I'll fly there tomorrow.
Alright, then book the damn match.
Do it. I'll get in there and I'll face Pizza Cat.
Ooh, Billy Stocks. Sweet.
Yeah.
Now you are a Canadian from Canada. So you get 2 bonus questions.
Okay.
Poutine. Where's the best?
You know, I haven't had the chance to go to Quebec yet. I will in May. I will be in Montreal as a part of the Jacques Rougeau Wrestling Academy. So I am very much looking forward to trying poutine from the land where everyone claims it's from. I think the best one I've had though is it's tough. There's 2 that I put 1A and 1B, and this one might be a little controversial because one of those is Costco poutine.
Ooh. Okay.
And I don't know why. Maybe it's because you've spent hours inside Costco just looking for a way out, and all of a sudden you're fed these fries covered in cheese curds and gravy, and it seems like you've found the hidden treasure in all of this. But that one's really up there. And the second one is a spot in Nova Scotia. It's right near Pizza Corner in Halifax, and it's called Willie's. And all they serve is poutine, and I think there's like a cheeseburger you can get too. But it's anytime I'm in Halifax, that's the place I'm going.
Okay. Is Canada's greatest national treasure Ryan Reynolds?
He's close to my heart because I'm a West Coast boy, and so is he. But yeah, look at other people like Mike Myers and Jim Carrey. Love him or hate him, Justin Bieber. There's a lot of people in contention. But I think if you're looking at who's active right now and doing the best for Canada, yeah, we're going to have to give it to old Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, Deadpool.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Oh, you've thrown me so many curveballs. That's one where I wish I had a heads up on that one because there's so many in the Pokedex that it's hard to choose a triumphant one. Also, are you looking at the Pokemon games that were originally around that I was playing on the Game Boy? Are we looking at the Pokemon in the Switch games? Are we looking at the Pokemon in Pokemon Go? And then what are we looking at for the factors in that? And then, ooh,
It's just the Pokemon you identified the most with.
Probably Geodude.
Awesome.
Yeah, I feel like a big rock that sometimes can be really helpful, but at other times it's just a rock sitting on some other rocks.
We love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
Oh, I'm gonna kick myself for this one because it's not right off the top of my head. Oh no. And someone who I trained under for many years on Vancouver Island, Eddie Osborne, is probably gonna kick me for this one too. But I'm blanking. I can't think of it right now.
Need some help?
Please.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail. 'Cause a Doug can't spell.
There it is. Oh, yeah. I'm kicking myself. Yeah, luckily, there's no video component, or you'd see it, and it's not a pretty sight. But I am kicking myself.
Well, at least Lance Storm is teaching you the right things at the school.
And I can kind of spell sometimes.
Only if we could spell all the time.
A man can dream, can't he?
Oh, without a doubt. Alright, and the weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully, would you ever...
I don't know how big Batista's thing is, no.
No, that wasn't the question.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. As many interviews as we've done, that's never... I'm sorry. Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual Rock.
A Rock.
Yes.
Would I wrestle a Rock? Yeah, I absolutely would. I got to see, not in person, but Psycho Mike wrestle a Rock,
Yes, he did.
and that was some of the best stuff I've ever seen. So I want a chance at wrestling a Rock or Psycho Mike, one of the two. Maybe they can be a tag team. I don't care. We can make it a triple threat. But yeah, give me a Rock. Give me that dog that pinned Psycho Mike. I'll wrestle a dog. I'll wrestle a bear. I'll wrestle a broomstick. Put me in there with anyone or anything, and I'm sure you'll be talking about it after.
I'm not sure if Psycho Mike and The Rock could put aside their differences, but if they could, you have a good tag team partner in Hard Place.
All right, I got you with one, you got me with one, so we're equal there.
Yes, whenever anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about when it's would you consider wrestling a Rock, the explanation is Psycho Mike wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in Backyard 12.
Yeah, in what appeared to be a front yard, I think.
There was a front yard, a backyard. There was a couple of yards.
Yeah.
I mean, the match lasted 2 weeks.
I actually put my name in the hat to wrestle with Backyard Pro, and they politely turned me away because they said they only accept untrained wrestlers. So here we are.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that there's going to be a 2023 Backyard Pro, but Von Vertigo is doing amazing things in his wrestling career right now, so that's fantastic for him, but, we're seeing this get one more time, Psycho Mike and Rock.
And big shout out to Von Vertigo. Last year, he was on a little bit of a trip in Alberta and BC, and actually, I didn't have any place to stay. So in 2 provinces where he didn't live, he sheltered me for a night in each. So big shout out to Vaughn, and I hope that he's doing well. I saw that he recently had a match with the Motor City Machine Guns, and the clips from that look insane. So I'm excited to watch the entire match, and he's off to the UK pretty soon, or he will be there when this comes out. So props to Von Vertigo.
Absolutely, I love Von Vertigo. Awesome guy.
Yeah.
All right. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I mean, the goal is to continue to spread the name of Eli and the reality that people aren't seeing at the moment. So if I can be in a different town every night, making enough so that I can sleep somewhere and eat something, and maybe send a little money back home to save up and put a renovation on my rock fort where I live currently, that's all I'm asking for. Don't need a lot. Maybe I'll find a dog along the way. That'd be cool. There's a old Canadian show called The Littlest Hobo, where a dog just travels around, and maybe that'll be my life in the next 5 years, and I'll have a little dog companion with me.
Sweet. And what's a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Eli Surge is all about?
Ooh. One that I'm really excited to watch back is one that happened recently in Victoria he's young, but he's been wrestling for a while. He's been wanting to really get better every time he wrestles, as a wrestler named Maxwell Benson. He's got a lot of potential in him, and we had a match in January that I think is one of my favorite matches in the last few years for sure. So that, or there's a triple threat I had at Nation Extreme Wrestling. It was myself, Adam Ryder, and Evan Rivers. Check that out. And then there was also a singles match I had with Artemis Spencer in 2020 that was what I thought was my first real interaction with Bigfoot. Turns out to be, it was someone in a Bigfoot suit. And the match didn't quite go my way, but if you give a watch of that one, you'll understand a little bit more.
Can we find these matches on YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They will. The one with Maxwell isn't posted yet. It will be up soon, hopefully. That'll be posted through 365 Pro Wrestling, probably on their combat show. Okay. The Nation Extreme Wrestling one is currently available, as well as the one with Artemis Spencer. And if you're having trouble finding them for some reason, check out my YouTube channel. I have a playlist in there that has a bunch of my matches listed in that.
And I will, if the 365 match is posted by the time this airs, I will have that match and the other 2 matches you recommended in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. No need to go looking for it. I did it for you.
Wonderful!
And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
All time. I'm gonna go with my favorite wrestler, who is Brody King.
All right. Worst wrestler.
I don't know if you can say there's a worst wrestler of all time because everyone has a different flavor, so I won't put anyone on blast with that.
Then we will give you the stock answer, the default answer.
Which is?
You have chosen Eva Marie.
Oh.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Jeff Hardy.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
The Hardys.
So you're wrestling Jeff Hardy at WrestleMania, and you're coming out to his entrance music.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the Hardys, so if I'm gonna wrestle Jeff, you know what? I'll come out to Edge's music then.
Which one?
You think you know me?
They all start with that.
That's all that matters, brother. After that, everyone's excited, so you don't hear the rest.
Alright. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
a reality that people do or do not believe in. It depends where your views are.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash.
Okay.
Vegetable or fruit?
Match type.
Alright. New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
All butt cheek, no trunk.
So, no, just nude.
No. You cover the crack.
Okay.
Because you can't. Crack is bad. Crack kills.
Okay.
But cheeks are galore.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
Many conversations about Darby Allin, not in a supermarket. Restaurants, drive-thrus, many other places, not in a supermarket.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much, Eli.
Thank you.
And once again, where can we find you on social media and merchandise?
Merchandise, Pro Wrestling Tees or Brainbuster Tees online. Twitter, Instagram is Real Eli Surge. Facebook is Eli Surge. YouTube is Eli Surge. Again, if you want in on those Pokemon gifts, send me a DM and I'll get you a trainer code. That's Surge Enterprises on Pokemon. And really the most important thing is just to question the presented reality.
And you don't even have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media and his merchandise will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Simply go into the description, click the link, a new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt.
Buy it. It helps me feed Bigfoot.
Of course, thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment if you like the show. Of course, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us tomorrow as we interview Nova. And of course, support our sponsory for Capital Championship Wrestling, Billy Starks, March 11th at Battle for the Drum. Alright, and you could follow this show at Wrestling with E, but on Twitter and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. And you can follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, Eli, when I say wrestling with, you say entertainment, okay?
Okay.
For our very special guest, Eli Swords, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.